Your wedding date is canceled, my mom texted. Your brother scheduled his engagement party the same day. I stared at my phone, reread it twice, and then did something that apparently shocked my entire family. I wrote back, that's fine. 18 months of planning, contracts, deposits, vendor meetings squeezed in between court hearings. My fiancé and I had put down about $85,000 of our own money. And my mom was telling me our wedding date had been canceled. Like it was a doctor's appointment, she could just reschedule for flu season. So I said it was fine. Then I married my wife on that exact day anyway, didn't tell any of them, and posted the photos from our honeymoon while they were trying to figure out how to stop a ceremony that had already happened. Sup, Reddit. I'm Sam. I'm 34 now, but I was 32 when all of this went down. I'm a litigation attorney in a mid-sized city in the Midwest. Think, we have sports teams, but nobody vacations here on purpose. I spend most of my days in windowless conference rooms and fluorescent-lit hallways, arguing about contracts that other people didn't bother to read. I'm also the oldest of two. My younger brother, Ryan, is 30, and if you asked my parents to describe us, they'd say something like, Sam is dependable. Ryan is special. You can probably already hear the golden child alarm siren in the distance. I'm telling this story now because my wife and I just celebrated our second anniversary. We went out to dinner, toasted with cheap champagne, scrolled through our wedding photos, and at some point she joked, can you believe your mom still tells people we eloped to avoid more conflict? I laughed, and then I realized, no, this wasn't eloping, and it definitely wasn't about spite. It was about finally refusing to be the family's backup plan. Growing up, the roles were pretty clear. I was the kid who did his homework without being asked, who remembered permission slips, who babysat for free. If something broke, computer, car, relationship, everyone went, ask Sam. He'll fix it. Ryan was the kid who just needed a little more time. A little more understanding in high school when he skipped classes. A little more cash in college when he forgot to pay rent. A little more space when he job hopped for 3 years because none of his bosses understood his creativity. My parents aren't cartoon villains. They're regular suburban people who worked hard. Dad's an electrician, mom's a nurse. They paid what they could toward my undergrad, and when I got into law school, we all agreed I'd take loans because money was tight. No hard feelings. I signed the papers, did the grind, graduated. Then, during my second year of law school, Ryan dropped out of his graphic design program 3 states away because, according to him, the vibes were off. He came home, maxed out a credit card my parents had for emergencies only, and totaled their car a month later. I found out about all of that when my mom called me crying because the bank was threatening to sue over the card. The car insurance had jacked up their rate, and they were behind on the mortgage. I remember sitting on the floor of my tiny apartment, outlines and casebooks spread around me, listening to her sob into the phone. Sam, honey, you're so good with this stuff. Can you look at the paperwork? Maybe call someone. Your brother didn't mean it. He just gets overwhelmed. So I did what I always did. I drove home that weekend, organized their bills, called the bank, talked to the car insurance, drafted a basic hardship letter, and set up payment plans. I didn't pay the debts. I literally couldn't. But I gave them a roadmap. I also made the mistake of being good at it. From then on, anytime Ryan made a mess, lease issues, HR problems, car accidents, bounce checks, my parents would call me first. Not him. Me. Just tell us what to say. Mom would whisper on speakerphone while Dad muttered in the background. If I ever suggested that maybe Ryan should be on the call too, it was always, he's embarrassed, Sam. Don't make it harder for him. Fast forward a decade. I'm a mid-level associate at a decent firm. I'm not rolling in it, but I pay my loans, I have a condo with actual matching furniture, and I buy groceries that don't come exclusively from the generic brand aisle. I meet Emma at a friend's barbecue. She's a physical therapist, warm, funny, and brutally direct in a way that I didn't realize I needed. On our third date, after I told a story about cleaning up one of Ryan's messes, she asked, so at what point do you let them figure it out themselves? I shrugged it off at the time. It's just easier if I handle it. She gave me this look. Not judgmental, just curious. Easier for who? That question sat in the back of my brain for the next 2 years. Now, my parents liked Emma. She has that kind of instant likability energy that makes waiters tell her their life story. But from the beginning, I noticed a difference. When Emma talked about her younger sister, there were boundaries. No, she can't crash on our couch for 6 months. She needs to learn to pay rent. No, we're not co-signing her car. Hearing that out loud was like hearing someone speak a language I understood but had never been allowed to use. I proposed to Emma in a very un-Reddit-worthy way. We were both exhausted on a Sunday night, lying on the couch, and I just blurted, "Do you want to do this forever?" and held out a ring. She laughed and cried at the same time, which is very on-brand for her, and said yes. Our rule from the start: we pay for our own wedding. No strings attached. No, we contributed, so we get to invite my coworker from 1998 nonsense. Her parents offered to cover the rehearsal dinner and her dress. My parents said they'd help where they could, but I didn't count on that. We found a venue we both loved, a brick event space downtown with big windows, exposed beams, the whole Pinterest industrial chic thing, and booked it for a Saturday in June about 18 months out. We signed contracts with the caterer, photographer, DJ, florist, all the wedding Voltron pieces. We made a spreadsheet. The total cost including food, bar, decor, everything, about $85,000. That number makes some people gasp. For context, we could afford it. We'd both been saving for years, and I had a if my student loans don't kill me first fund that shifted into wedding and future house once I refinanced. Was it a lot? Yes. Was it irresponsible? No. We weren't going into debt for it. About 2 months after we booked the venue, Ryan started dating a woman named Tessa. She was nice enough. Very Instagram. Influencer energy without the actual influencer job. Within 10 minutes of meeting her at a family dinner, I knew 3 things. She wanted a big ring, a big wedding, and big public attention. Cool. Not my business. A year before our wedding, Ryan and Tessa got engaged. She posted a video of him proposing with a sparkler fountain in the background and the caption, "He finally made it official." Comments were full of "finally." Even though they'd been dating for 6 months. My parents were over the moon. "We're so happy both our boys are settling down," Mom said, dabbing her eyes. "We'll have to figure out the timing so we can celebrate properly for both of you." I smiled. "We've already booked for June 12th next year." She blinked. "Oh, right. You did say that." There are little moments you look back on and realize they were warning shots. That was one of them. In the months that followed, anything wedding-related turned into a Ryan and Tessa show. My mom would be on the phone with me, allegedly to ask about our plans, and within 5 minutes, she'd be talking about Tessa's Pinterest boards. "They're thinking maybe a destination wedding," she said once. "Or something really unique. They just don't want it to feel small." Emma, who was cooking next to me, raised an eyebrow. I put her on speaker. "Small compared to what?" Emma asked dryly. Mom backpedaled. "Oh, no, I didn't mean your wedding. Just in general." Then came the first ask. Mom called me one afternoon while I was between depositions. "So, honey, your brother was thinking, maybe you could push your date a bit? Just to give everyone some breathing room." "We already booked everything," I said. "Contracts are signed. We'd lose the deposits." "Well, maybe the venue would understand. You're a lawyer. You know how to talk to people." I pinched the bridge of my nose. "Mom, contracts aren't about understanding. They're about dates, money, and signatures." We agreed to June 12th. She sighed. "You're so rigid sometimes, Sam. Can't you at least ask?" "No," I said, and it felt like a tiny revolution. "No, I'm not going to ask venues and vendors to rearrange a date we chose over a year ago because Ryan just got engaged." She got quiet. "Your brother feels like you're not happy for him." "I am happy for him," I said. "His happiness doesn't require me to undo 18 months of planning." We ended the call politely. "Love you, Mom." "Love you too, honey." But I hung up with that familiar knot in my stomach. Over the next few months, a pattern emerged. Every conversation about our wedding turned into a negotiation around Ryan's. "Could you maybe not do a plated dinner? They don't want theirs to look cheaper. Maybe keep your guest list reasonable so people don't feel obligated to attend both. Would you be upset if we were the same color scheme? Tessa really loves dusty blue." It was like our wedding was a spreadsheet cell they needed to edit to make their formulas balance. Emma saw it clearly. "They're treating your wedding like a placeholder," she said one night as we triple-checked our budget. "Like something they can move around on a calendar." "It's fine," I said automatically. "They're just excited." She put her hand over mine. "I love you, but please listen to yourself. You always say it's fine when something is very much not fine." It built slowly, like a pressure cooker. A comment here, a guilt trip there, my mom's not-so-subtle hints that as the oldest, I should be flexible and set a good example. Apparently, being the older brother meant my adult life remained infinitely rearrangeable around my younger brother's whims. The last straw came on a Tuesday afternoon 3 months before our wedding. I was in my office, drafting a motion, when my phone buzzed with a family group chat notification. Normally I mute that thing during work hours, but the preview said, "Update on the weddings," from my mom, with 3 heart emojis. I opened it. "Family," she wrote. "We are so excited to share that Ryan and Tessa have picked their engagement party date. We've decided to have it June 12th so everyone can be together and we don't have to make people travel twice. We'll treat that as the main family event, and then we'll celebrate Sam and Emma properly later when it's less hectic. I stared at the screen. Then another message came in, this time directly to me, separate thread. From Mom. Your wedding date is canceled. Your brother scheduled his engagement party the same day. It makes no sense to split the family. We'll help you find a better time. Love you. Canceled. Like a dental appointment. I sat there in my swivel chair, the hum of the building's air conditioning suddenly very loud, and wondered if I'd misread something. I scrolled back through the group chat, through months of messages where I'd mentioned our date, shared photos of the venue, the invites, the fittings. It was all there. I texted Mom back. Clarify cancel. You mean you and Dad won't be coming on June 12th? A few dots appeared. Disappeared. Reappeared. Sam, honey, we can't ask people to choose between the two of you. It's selfish. Ryan and Tessa's event will probably be more all out, and it's easier logistically to center everyone around that. You and Emma are more low-key. You'll understand. We'll plan something intimate for you later, maybe in the fall when things are calmer. There it was again. I would understand. The reliable one. The flexible one. The one who would rearrange his life so her favorite son didn't have to. Something clicked, like a lock sliding into place. I thought about every time I'd cleaned up their financial chaos while they shielded Ryan from talking to a single creditor. You're so mature, thrown at me like a consolation prize instead of actual support. Every time my needs were described as less urgent because I was strong. I thought about Emma, who had spent hours tasting cakes, trying on dresses, and dealing with guest lists, under the assumption that my family gave at least a fraction of a damn. I thought about the contracts sitting in a folder in my office, the non-refundable deposits, the cancellation clauses I had actually read. The fact that nowhere did any of those documents say subject to younger brother's social calendar. I typed one sentence back. That's fine. Mom replied almost instantly. I knew you'd understand, you're such a good big brother. We'll talk soon about new dates. I put my phone face down, leaned back in my chair, and stared at the ceiling. Strangely, I wasn't angry in the explosive way you'd expect. It was more like someone had pulled a very old splinter out of my skin. It hurt, but the pain felt clean. That night, I told Emma everything. I handed her my phone and let her read the thread in silence. She finished, set the phone down carefully, and looked at me. Okay, she said. We have options. Option 1, I said, half joking. We cancel the wedding, elope to Vegas, and send them a postcard. Tempting, she said. Option 2, we move it and bend over backwards to keep the peace, and you resent them forever. Hard pass. Option 3. She paused, eyes narrowing slightly in the way she does at the gym when she's about to add more weight than the trainer suggested. Option 3 is that we stop acting like they own the day just because they share your DNA. I blinked. What does that look like, practically? You're the lawyer, she said. What do the contracts say? So we pulled up the folder on my laptop. Venue. Full amount due 30 days before. No date changes without a 50% penalty. Caterer. Paid in installments, non-refundable. Photographer, retainer non-refundable. DJ, florist, rentals, same story. Long version, I said. If we cancel or move the date, we eat a huge amount of money. And short version? She asked. I closed the laptop. Short version. The wedding is happening on June 12th. She smiled slowly. Good. Now we just decide who's invited to the wedding we're already paying for. We didn't make some grand revenge plan. No dramatic speeches, no ultimatums. That's not our style. Instead, we did something my family genuinely did not expect. We treated our wedding like it was ours. Over the next week, we quietly adjusted our guest list. Originally, about 150 people, with maybe 70 from my side, including cousins, family friends, and assorted people my mom had insisted on. We'd already sent save the dates, but not formal invitations yet. We cut it to 85. Mostly Emma's family, our close friends, and a few of my relatives who had consistently treated me like a human being and not an emergency hotline. We met with the venue and, as calmly as I argue emotion, I explained. There may be some family drama. If anyone shows up saying the event is canceled, they are mistaken. The only people authorized to make decisions are me and Emma. The coordinator, a woman in her 50s who had clearly seen some things, nodded slowly. Got it, she said. We've had situations before. We'll have security at the door with the guest list. No one comes back to the ceremony space unless you've approved them. I sent my parents one more text, just to be technically transparent. Hey Mom, just so you know, Emma and I are keeping the June 12th booking. We understand you'll be hosting Ryan's engagement party that day. We'll miss having you there, but we're not changing our plans. She called within 30 seconds. Sam, what do you mean you're keeping it? We just told everyone it's not happening. Then tell them it is, I said. My voice was steady, even to my own surprise. Or don't. Your choice. That's not fair, she said. Family comes first. We can't split everyone like that. It's selfish. I took a breath. Mom, you didn't ask us before you announced your plans. You told me my wedding was canceled without even checking the contracts or what it would cost. You made a choice. I'm making mine. The day is booked. We're getting married. She started to cry, then got angry midway. You're doing this to punish us. To punish Ryan. You know he's always struggled, and you've always handled things better. Can't you be generous just this once? Mom, I said softly. I have been just this once for 30 years. Silence. I'm not asking you to cancel anything. I continued. If you want to make the engagement party the main family event, go for it. People can attend whichever they want or both, if they really feel like driving back and forth. But we're not rearranging our wedding around my brother's engagement party. She sniffed. So that's it. That's it, I said. We would love to have you there, but we're proceeding either way. We ended the call with that awful, brittle politeness that feels sharper than yelling. In the weeks that followed, I heard through the grapevine, via an aunt who does not believe in discretion, that my parents were telling everyone we'd postponed our wedding, that we were being sensitive about overlapping dates, that I was maybe not ready yet, and that's why I'd agreed to focus on Ryan first. I didn't correct them, not because they were right, but because arguing with a false narrative they needed to protect themselves wasn't my job anymore. I had already spent too many years being the family fact-checker. Instead, I focused on Emma, on work, on logistics. I lived my life. The week of the wedding, I took the days off, blocked in my calendar as trial prep, because lawyers are weirdly more respected when they're allegedly in court. Emma took time off too. We confirmed with every vendor, triple-checked the ceremony time, dropped off decorations at the venue. 2 days before, Mom texted, "Don't forget Ryan's engagement party starts at 3 on Saturday. We'll be doing photos earlier." Everyone's so excited. I stared at it, showed it to Emma, and we both just shook our heads. Our ceremony was at 2 p.m. The morning of our wedding, I woke up before my alarm. The hotel room was dim, the city still quiet. For a moment, that old familiar anxiety stirred. Am I doing something terrible? Am I breaking my family? Then Emma rolled over, hair a mess, eyes half open, and mumbled, "You're thinking too loud." I laughed. Nervous. A little, she admitted, but also weirdly calm. "We're not doing anything wrong, Sam." "I know," I said. "I just wish it didn't have to be this split." She reached for my hand. "Your parents created the split when they told you your wedding was canceled. We're just refusing to disappear." The day itself was, honestly, beautiful. I won't bore you with every detail, but here are snapshots. My best friend tying my tie and saying, "Dude, you look like you actually sleep sometimes." Emma walking down the aisle in a dress that made half the room tear up. The officiant smiling as we stumbled over one line in our vows and then laughed together. The way the light came through the big warehouse windows as we said, "I do." My side of the room looked different than I'd once imagined. Fewer relatives, more colleagues and friends. My Aunt Linda, who had quietly texted, "I'll be there wherever you say, honey." My cousin who drove in from another state without telling my parents. From Emma's side, her parents, both glowing in that, "Our daughter is truly happy," way you can't fake. Her sister, who gave a speech about how I'd once fixed her flat tire in the rain and refused to let her pay me. We took photos, we ate, we danced. At one point, during a slow song, Emma looked up at me and whispered, "Are you okay?" I realized I was. I really was. Around 5 p.m., while people were still on the dance floor, my phone buzzed on the table next to the cake. I glanced at it. 12 missed calls from Mom and Dad. Several from Ryan. A flurry of text previews. I didn't pick up. We had arranged for a car to take us straight from the reception to the airport. Our flight was at 8 that evening. People tossed biodegradable confetti as we left, courtesy of Emma's eco-warrior sister. We slid into the back seat, both a little tipsy, both exhausted and giddy. Ready for our very special, very not canceled trip? Emma asked, grinning. Ready, I said. We turned our phones on airplane mode as we boarded. Honeymoon. A week in Costa Rica, which we could afford because I'd said no to an extra videographer package and Emma had found absurdly cheap flights. It wasn't until the next morning, eating breakfast on a balcony overlooking a ridiculous amount of greenery, that we turned our phones back on. My screen exploded. From Mom. Where are you? Call me now. Are you really doing this? Tell me this is a joke. Then a new one. We drove to the venue to stop this, and they said you were already married and gone. How could you? From Dad. This is not how family behaves. You blindsided us. From Ryan. Wow, man. Couldn't let me have my day. You made Mom cry on my engagement party. Engagement party, by the way, had apparently started late because my parents had first driven to our wedding venue to put a stop to this nonsense. Aunt Linda again, providing commentary. By the time they got back, a bunch of guests were confused, the caterer was annoyed, and Tessa was furious that her photo schedule was ruined. None of that was my intention, but it was the natural consequence of choices they made. I sat there on that balcony, the sounds of the jungle weirdly soothing, and scrolled through the messages. My heart pounded, but not from panic. More like adrenaline and relief mixed. Emma watched my face. Bad, she asked. Intense, I said. I handed her the phone. She read, lips pressed together, then nodded once. Do you want to respond now? Later? Not at all. I thought about it. I'm a lawyer. I don't like leaving things ambiguous forever. But I also didn't want to get into an all-caps argument over WhatsApp. I typed one group message to my parents and Ryan. I'm sorry you're upset. Emma and I told you months ago we were keeping our wedding on June 12th. You chose to plan another event the same day and to tell people our wedding was canceled without our consent. We proceeded with the date we had booked and paid for. We would have loved to have you there. That offer still stands for future milestones if healthy boundaries are respected. For now, we're on our honeymoon and won't be on our phones much. Talk when we're back. I read it out loud to Emma. Too harsh? I asked. It's factual, she said. You're not insulting anyone. You're describing what happened. I hit send. Mom replied almost immediately, even though I'd said we wouldn't be on our phones. I can't believe you're playing the victim. You embarrassed us in front of everyone. Don't bother coming around for a while. I put the phone face down and looked out at the trees. Emma reached for my hand again. You okay? Honestly, I said. Yeah. For the first time, I think I am. In the weeks after we got back, the fallout unfolded predictably. We went low contact with my parents. No blocking, just stepping back. If they texted accusatory paragraphs, I didn't engage. If they sent something neutral, hope you're well, I responded politely. I refused to relitigate the decision. Extended family started to reach out quietly. My aunt called. For what it's worth, she said. Your mom told everyone you'd agreed to postpone. When Linda and I realized your invitations hadn't changed, we put two and two together. We're proud of you for standing your ground. A cousin DM'd me on Instagram. Your wedding looked amazing. I'm sorry I believed the postponement story. If I'd known, I would have been there. Even a couple of my parents' friends, people I'd known since childhood, sent cards addressed only to us, saying things like, we heard there was some confusion. We're happy you and Emma did what was right for you. Meanwhile, Ryan and Tessa had their own drama. Apparently, during the engagement party, several guests asked why my wedding was canceled. Someone let slip that no, it hadn't been, my parents had just decided not to go. Tessa was furious that her special day was overshadowed by questions about us. Ryan was furious at me for causing that, despite the fact that I was physically in another country. I didn't respond to his angry texts beyond one message. I did not ask Mom and Dad to drive to my venue. That was their decision. A year later, Ryan and Tessa's wedding actually did happen, on a completely different date. We were invited, technically. The invitation arrived with a sticky note from Mom. It would mean a lot if you made an effort to put things behind us. We sent a gift from their registry, a nice one. We did not attend. I had a trial that week, which was true. But even if I hadn't, we weren't ready to pretend everything was normal just so they could have pretty pictures. Over time, things settled. Not in a storybook reconciliation way. In a real, slightly messy, adult way. My relationship with my parents is distant now. We talk a few times a month, sticking to small talk about work and health. I'm no longer the family's crisis manager. When Ryan had job trouble and Mom begged me to just look at his contract, I said no and let the silence sit. Emma and I bought a small, squeaky house and filled it with photos of people who actually showed up for us, not the ones who tried to cancel our wedding.